Pooped on my boyfriend's bed after I found out he was cheating on me, and I lit his car on fire. Disclaimer is not my story time instead of me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I met in high school. He chased me for about 3 years. This man would tell me every single day that he was in love with me. This was before Instagram, so he would contact me every single day through Facebook. He would send me his favorite songs. He would write me poems. I mean, you can tell this guy was totally obsessed, right? After 4 years of this, I finally said yes to a date. And the only reason I kept saying no was because I knew somebody that had dated him, and they told me that he was crazy. I just didn't want to believe it because he seemed so perfect over Facebook. At the time, I was living in Manhattan, so I told him that I wanted the date to be in the city. So he took me to watch a show on Broadway. First off, I was really impressed that he could even afford the tickets because they were to a very expensive show. And before the show, he took me to a really nice dinner. And he proceeded to order everything on the menu. 5 appetizers, 4 main entrees, and a bunch of drinks. The bill came out to about $600. I offered to help him pay, but he said no, as he should. The entire date was really amazing. The only thing that I know now was a red flag is that he was kind of rude to the waiter. Of course, I didn't mention it. Fast forward a few months, and he asked me to be his girlfriend. Now, to be honest, I was dating a few other guys at the time, and they were all really great, but none of them wanted a serious relationship, and that's what I was looking for. So I finally said yes to my ex. Around that time, I started competing in pageants, and I got very far. I went to Miss USA. Can you guess who I am? We love this. Part 2 is up. I pooped on my boyfriend's bed after I found out he was cheating on me and lit his car on fire. Disclaimer is not my story time. I said on my Instagram. After he asked me to be his girlfriend, I decided to start competing in pageants, and I got pretty far. I won my state and went on to Miss USA. At that point, my ex and I had been together for about a year. To my face, he always told me that he was so proud of me. He loved that I was so dedicated and disciplined. To get ready to compete, I would work out twice a day. I also had a bunch of classes and held down a full-time job. Here's when things start getting complicated. One night, our friends had a get-together at their house. Our entire friend group were there, and I invited my best friend. Now, my best friend has always had my back. He is my ride or die. Her and I went to the kitchen to get some drinks, and when she went back to where my boyfriend was standing, she overheard the conversation he was having with another friend. Apparently, my boyfriend was telling the other friend that I was crazy, that he thought I had eating disorders because I would work out so much, and that I thought I was better than everybody else because I was competing for Miss USA. My best friend ran over to the kitchen to tell me everything she heard. At first, I thought, are you sure he wasn't joking? She said no, he was completely serious. I was really hurt. Instead of waiting for the party to be over, I confronted him right then and there. Asked him if he was talking bad about me, and then he said no, of course not. And I told him the whole conversation that my best friend overheard. But I told him that I was the one that overheard the conversation. That's when he started gaslighting me. He said that I was overreacting, that I had completely twisted his words. I asked him exactly what he said, and he told me he couldn't remember. I asked him point blank if he felt envious of me, and he said no. He said, you have to get over yourself if you think you're that important. Part 3 is pooped on my boyfriend's bed after I found out he was cheating on me and lit his car on fire. Disclaimers is not my story time instead of me on Instagram. After I caught him talking bad about me, he denied everything. And he also told me that I needed to get over myself. I grabbed my best friend and went home. That means my boyfriend stayed at the party by himself. Well, guess what he does? He goes out of his way to find a girl to hook up with. And I know this now because a few of my friends who were at the party saw everything go down. Apparently, after I left, he started scouting all the girls. He would go up to each one of them and talk to them. Finally, he went upstairs with one of them. I mean, he couldn't even go somewhere else. He had to do it in front of all of our friends. Multiple people watched this all happen, and most of them knew that we had gotten into a fight before. One of the girls that was at the party actually messaged me and told me that my boyfriend was in the bedroom with another girl. So I ran back to the party. He was already downstairs at that point, but I asked him if it was true. At this point, he had a lot to drink. That's when he starts word vomiting, telling me that he had hooked up with girls that were way better than I was, and that I was so consumed with my pageant competition and that I was too skinny. Then he just started listing all of the girls that he had slept with, and 2 of them were my friends who were at the party. What I did next is probably not the best idea, but I did it. I grabbed a bottle of alcohol and went outside with the lighter. I poured it all over his car and set it on fire. Then I got back into my car with my best friend and went to his apartment. And it just so happens that I needed to poop at the time, so I thought just to do it in his bed. So I squatted over his bed and did my business. Then he messaged me telling me that he was going to press charges on me for his car. Luckily, nobody told on me, so he had 0 proof. And luckily, his car was fine. A few months later, he messaged me apologizing. He said that I was the best thing that ever happened to him, but I ignored his messages. No, I didn't win Miss USA, but I'm proud of myself for what I did to him. Bye.
Am I wrong for saying my sister probably has a different dad? My mom and my dad are both super white and super blonde. My brothers, 29 male and 23 male, and me, 26 female, are also super white and super blonde. My sister Nicole, 20 female, has pretty dark skin and 3C natural hair. I wish I could just assume that Nicole has darker skin and curlier hair due to some strange genetic glitch, but I can't. My mom used to have a very close friend who would visit when my dad was gone, and he was black. When Nicole was born, her friend stopped coming around and my parents spent a lot of time fighting. Nicole knows nothing about my mom's special friend. Anyway, we were all eating dinner at my parents' house over the weekend, and Nicole mentioned that she wanted to take a 23andMe genetics test. She's 23 and doesn't know that she is not her father's biological daughter. Okay, my parents got really uncomfortable and told her not to do it. My mom started saying that those tests were a government control mechanism, which is something she would never normally say. It developed into a fight between Nicole and my parents ended up storming into the kitchen. Nicole tried to get me and my brothers to side with her. She kept going on about how crazy it was that our mom thought the DNA tests were some sort of conspiracy and that she was adamant she was going to take one. I said, all right, you can take one, but you should know you'll probably find out some stuff you don't want to know. That just made her more angry, and she asked me what she would find out. I said, you'll probably find out that you have a different dad than you've always thought. But she got really mad and went into the kitchen to confront mom and dad. There was a lot of screaming, and finally, our mom told us all the truth and screamed that Nicole probably has a different dad. My dad already knew, but the conversation really hurt him and he went to take a drive. Nicole turned to me and started saying that I was such an asshole for saying she might have a different dad, and if I hadn't said it, our mom wouldn't have had to say it like that. I said that it was her fault that she went and bothered my mom about it and that she couldn't take no for an answer about the DNA tests. Honestly, I do not care if Nicole has a different dad. She's always been my sister and she always will be my sister. But the way she found out was terrible. Even still, I resent the fact that she's calling me an asshole over it. So I wanted to ask here, am I? My take on stuff like this is that you should never hide stuff from your kids. I think at a certain age, both parents should have been like, you know what? She's going to grow up. She's eventually going to find out. And we want to make sure she finds out on our terms. So either be 15, 18, whatever that age you guys decide to tell her. But I think it's wrong to deceive your kids and make them like you're gaslighting them by saying, why would you take those tests? Like, what are you trying to find out? Am I wrong for demanding my girlfriend to change her dress for a wedding? This happened during this weekend, me being in my early 30s and my girlfriend in her late 20s. I was invited to a wedding ceremony of a colleague and I could bring someone with me. I asked my girlfriend that I've been dating for a year if she would like to join me, and she was really happy because she apparently loves weddings. Since we don't live together, I drove to pick her up so we'd have some time to spare before the ceremony. She's also wearing an off-white dress that was rather ornate. As she comes out, she looks really beautiful and has obviously put in time to fix her hair and makeup. As she got in, I told her she looked stunning, but I asked if she could change into a different colored dress for the ceremony. I'm not one for etiquette by far, but one of the few things I have heard everywhere is that you should not wear white to a wedding, unless you're the bride. She became pretty upset and wanted to know what was wrong with her dress. I said that it would be inappropriate to wear a white or off-white dress unless you're the bride, and that it's like wedding law or something, trying to be lighthearted about it. She rolled her eyes and said that it was an outdated tradition about women and virginity, and that when her friends got married, everyone wore white and that it's not a big thing anymore. I still thought she should change to another color but white or almost white because my colleague was getting married and we had no idea how she felt about it. My girlfriend became really upset and told me I was trying to control what she was wearing and that it was abusive. Which honestly made me really upset and hurt. I said something along the lines of, "Duck, well, you shouldn't go to a wedding with an abuser then." And then I told her to get the F out of my car. She began to cry and wanted to apologize and give me a hug. But I just told her to get out, which she did. To clarify, we never left the driveway by her home. I did not drop her off in the middle of nowhere or anything like that. I drove off and she called and texted me a bunch. I answered, "I don't want to talk right now," and then turned my phone off and attended the ceremony. The bride was the only one that was wearing white, so I feel as if my gut feeling was in the right. When I got home, my phone had blown up by text from her and her best friend saying that I was being inconsiderate and controlling and should apologize for my behavior. I feel as if I was in the right since it was my colleague's wedding and it was better to be safe than sorry, but I'm also not sure if I was being an asshole about the situation. I don't understand people's obsession with trying to wear white to someone else's wedding. You don't even know the person either. It's your boyfriend's a colleague's wedding. Like, huh?
Am I the asshole for putting a private conversation on speaker which caused my brother his 18-year relationship? My brother, 39 male, has been in a relationship with Abby, 39 female, 18 years. They've been engaged 8 years and they've nearly gotten married 3 years ago, but months before the wedding, Ben chickened out. They went to therapy and basically because our dad left us, he has issues with commitment. We thought over the last year he was finally going to step up and be the partner she deserves. He seemed anxious leading up to the big day, but assured everyone he was okay. Today they were meant to get married, but as Abby and us bridesmaids were about to enter the church, Ben was nowhere to be found. Everyone tried to calm her down, saying it was just traffic or something. Am I the asshole for putting a private conversation on speaker which cost my brother his 18-year relationship? After 4 hours of waiting, she said F it, she was going back to the hotel. My family looked panicked and nervous trying to get a hold of him. Went to the hotel with a very broken-looking Abby and we drank and ate food. My brother-in-law found him at a bar and said they were trying to talk him into going to his own wedding. I had enough. Leading someone on for 18 years is just cruel. I told Abby to be quiet and rang my brother-in-law to put him on loudspeaker. He said he didn't think she was the one and that he's just scared to be alone. He said he had 1 hour to get to the church or it was over. Got there and ended up being left at the altar and she went on the honeymoon alone. Am I the asshole for threatening not to walk down the aisle if my fiance's twin brother attends the wedding? I'm supposed to get married to my fiance, but there's a big problem concerning our wedding, and that's his twin brother. His brother is a drug addict and got in a lot of troubles in the past because of it. Obviously, I don't want an addict invited to my wedding, but my fiance insists not only to invite him, but to make him his groomsman too. He says he went to rehab and he's now clean, but I seriously doubt that. I know people like him, they never change. We kept arguing about it for a couple of days till yesterday when he invited his brother and his mom over to dinner to convince me. I was furious that he would invite the drug addict and their nutcase of a mom to my house without consulting me first. Am I the asshole for threatening to not walk down the aisle if my fiance's twin brother attends? I told them I'm not going to make dinner for a dopehead and to please leave my house. His brother sobbed, saying I'm unfair for not letting him support his brother on the big day. Mother-in-law berated me for how heartless I was. I said drop the act. These stupid mistakes literally landed him in jail, and I'm not going to allow a former offender to my wedding. I told mother-in-law to stay in lane as this is not her wedding, and she's also a big reason for why we got into this situation as she kept enabling his addiction. They shouted at me, but I eventually managed to get them to leave. Fiance is furious, but it's not my fault they're nutcases. I said if I see him at the wedding, I'm not walking.